Today we're going to take a look at a new product from the company SPERAS. This is their B8 headlamp. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on it, keep watching. Before we get started, I want to thank the company SPERAS for sending out their B8 headlamp so that I can share it with you. So as always, what we'll do is we'll go down to the tabletop, we'll take a closer look at the light, we'll go over what comes with it when you purchase it, we'll go over its physical and performance specifications, then of course we'll get outside and do some demonstrations. Now before we focus in on the light itself, let me show you what it came with. So this is the box the light arrived in. Inside of the box, in addition to the lamp, just two things. One is a USB Type-C charging cable, as you might expect, and the other is the manual with warranty information. All right, let's bring the light back into the picture here. So we'll just go through a few of the key features. So one of the things that stands out about this light is its power output. So it has a max lumen output of 700 lumens, not too shabby at all. But it does also have, in addition to a spotlight and a floodlight, it has RGB, or red, green, blue lights for your options, and you can choose which one you want. It has an 1800 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery built in, and I've got to point out now, of course, it's non-replaceable. It's built in. You can't get access to it. It has a one-touch turbo mode, which is really quite cool, and I wasn't sure when I first got it, but I've come to appreciate it. You can go right from your lowest lumen to turbo without actually even physically touching the unit, and it has a memory mode, as you might expect. Now, as far as the physical specifications for the B8, you know I'm going to put all of this information in the video description for your reference if you're interested. You get a rough idea of what the size of the light is. Not the smallest headlight out there, but then again, not the largest headlight out there. What you're probably more interested, I know I was, is what is the weight. So 2.54 ounces or 77 grams. So again, not an ultralight headlight, but it's also not the heaviest headlight out there. It depends on what you're getting in exchange for the weight and that size. The other thing I'll mention now is it has an IP rating of IP66. That's its waterproof rating. So not the ultimate in waterproof, but certainly this is something you can wear out in the rain without any concerns that it's going to damage the light in any way. All right, now let's quickly go through the performance specifications. And what I'll point out now is that there is a spotlight, a floodlight, as well as the RGB red, green, blue light. And you can use the spotlight and the floodlight in combination. Now, the other thing I want to mention before we get into the actual numbers is that the lumen settings are on a stepless incline. So in other words, you press and hold the button, you'll go from lowest to highest and then back down to lowest again. And you can use that to also go into the floodlight spotlight combination. So let's just break that down a little bit. Now, the spotlight will give you between 3 lumens at its lowest up to 330 lumens at its highest. That'll range in runtime from 180 hours down to 8 hours. Now, the floodlight from its lowest is 5 lumens to its highest is 150 lumens, and that'll range in runtime from 35 hours all the way down to 14 hours. Now, like I said, you can combine the floodlight and the spotlight, and that's where you get your maximum output, and that is 700 lumens, and if you let it run the full time, it'll last you 4 hours. Now, there is, like I mentioned, red, green, blue light, and they will range depending on which color you choose. It's a little hard to give you all the numbers, but from 2 lumens to 18 lumens with a runtime of between 20 hours down to about 15 hours. Now, to understand how the SPERAS B8 headlamp actually operates, first I have to point out that there are 3 buttons on this. So the key one, as it's called, or the primary on-off button, is this longer bar right here. That will turn the light on and off, and also if you hold it, will run through the infinite range up to the highest and the lowest for each of the lumen set, or each of the settings, be it a spotlight, floodlight, or RGB. So the one next to it is known as Key 2. Key 2 is the mode changer, so that will change it from spotlight to floodlight to RGB. And the third one on the side is known as the touch key, and really it's a proximity sensor button. It's not really a button that you actually press, but that you can touch or actually get very close to, and from whatever lumen setting it is on in either of the white lights, being the flood or the spotlight, it will jump immediately to turbo, which is the full lumen setting of both the spot and the light, so therefore 700 lumens. All right, let's go through the operation kind of quickly. Now, I turn it on, and and right now it's on spotlight at its lowest lumen setting of 3 lumens. And the next thing to do would be to hold that and press, and it will run up to the very top. If I touch it again, I can turn the light off. If I press it again, it comes back to the last lumen setting, so that has memory there. Now, I can also now switch over to just floodlight with a quick tap of key 2. So now I have the floodlight, and again, I can ramp that one all the way up and down its lumen settings. If I touch the key 2 mode button again, it'll come over to the RGB. You can see I have it set for red. If you would prefer green or blue, just press and hold that button and it will switch. And then back to red again. I happen to like red, but the others are nice for different applications, I'll assume. Now, if I want to go back over to the spotlight, I press it again. You can see back to where it was on memory. Let me turn that light off. Now, I'm going to turn the light on, run it down to its lowest. Let's see if I can get this to work properly. Here we go. Oh, I keep releasing the button, and every time I do, it thinks that's the memory. There we go. All right, so now we're down to the lowest lumen setting, again on the spotlight. And if I want to activate turbo, all I have to do is just touch the side and it goes right up to turbo, touch it again, and I'm back down to the lowest setting. All right, we're doing the nighttime demonstration of the SPERAS B8 headlamp. I have it on basically the lowest at 3 lumens. It's infinity low is the other way to describe it, and we'll try wrap this up and just follow the light going all the way to the top. And there we are. So that is full light, 700 lumens, combination of the spot and the flood. And it does a good job of illuminating all the area around here. You really can't tell where the spot ends and the flood begins. But it does a great job of illuminating my backyard, most of my neighbor's backyard. Certainly better than what you would need or even expect to have from a headlamp. All right, a few closing thoughts for the SPERAS B8. And I think one of the things I haven't mentioned that I actually quite like is the head strap itself. It's actually large enough that you can see it's set for my head, so it has some extra room. It's large enough for my rather XL head, and I can still wear this over a toque or a beanie. And that's not true of a lot of lights. They actually kind of require you to be worn either right against your skin or on something very thin. This being the longer band on it, I think is a really good move on SPERAS's part. It gives people the range if they need to use it. Now, there are things I really like about this light. Unfortunately, there's a few things I could see improved upon. The things that I like, the range of lighting settings or lumen settings going all the way from 3 lumens at its lowest on the floodlight all the way up to a combined flood and spot of 700 lumens. That's quite a nice range. So you get a lot of options in terms of how much lighting you want to have. The RGB is a nice feature to have. I'll probably leave mine on red. I probably won't use the blue and the green very often, but you may decide that you like the blue and the green. Of course, that's always personal choice. Now, the other thing I like about this, and it's both a pro and a con, and I'll explain why, is the touch key on the side. I really like that I can have this light on one of the lowest lumen settings, all the way down to 3 if you would want. That's actually, I'll tell you why, I'm probably going to leave it there most of the time. And then just by reaching up and touching the lamp, it's going to jump right up to the 700 lumens. Why do I say that's both a good and a bad feature? Well, here's the thing. There is no direct access from the off state to get to the lowest lumen settings. If you turn this light on using key 1, the primary light, it'll come on in whatever your last lumen setting is. If it's at one of the higher settings, you're going to blind yourself if you're inside your tent and all you want to see is where did I drop my cell phone, whatever it is that's inside you're looking for. So without direct access to the moonlight or the eco setting, the very lowest setting, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. So my thinking is I'm going to leave it set at the lowest setting, so spotlight 3 lumens, and if I need the high setting, I just reach up and touch the key light and it will jump all the way up. Now, if I'm going to be out roaming around and I don't want to use 700 lumens, but I need something in between, that's when I can use the infinity switch of key 1 to move it up and down. Just be aware, if you're inside of your tent and you go to turn this light on in pitch black and you haven't set it for the moonlight, the lowest setting, you're going to blind yourself, and that's unfortunate. So that's the improvement I'd like to see SPERAS do. Some means, maybe it's a long press and a hold like many other lights have, that will turn the light on in its lowest lumen setting. I think that would be a great addition to this light. Other than that, great performance. You saw when we got it outside. It has a nice combination of spot and floodlight. It's reasonable for distance and surrounding areas. It's not a searchlight. It's not just a little tiny EDC light. It is a good functional light. What more can you ask of it? All right, those are my thoughts. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comments section below. I'll be putting all the information I've shared with you, plus the links to where you can take another look at the SPERAS B8 in the video description. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.